The good old days when people believed atoms could not be divided are long gone. That is exactly why the atom was given its name, from a Greek word meaning indivisible. But later, it became clear that this idea was wrong. First, scientists discovered that atoms contain a nucleus surrounded by an electron cloud. Then they found protons and neutrons inside the nucleus. After that, physicists boldly probed inside those particles and arrived at quarks. They built the Standard Model, wiped the sweat from their brows, and breathed a sigh of relief. Hello, everyone! Indeed, the Standard Model explains the behavior of matter with remarkable accuracy and has been confirmed by experiments. But believing it has reached the very bottom of reality is far too simplistic. Time and again, scientists thought they had reached the bottom, only to discover another layer beneath it. First of all, a new generation of physicists also wants to uncover how the universe works and win a Nobel Prize. Are they really any less capable than Niels Bohr, Sheldon Glashow, or Murray Gell-Mann? And for another thing, the Standard Model does not explain everything. Then we'll explain it this way instead, they thought. Welcome to our channel. And that is how the prion theory was born. Quarks were once believed to be the very bricks of reality. Prions are proposed new fundamental particles said to make up those quarks. So let's get started. It works, but it doesn't explain. First, let's take a closer look at the problems with the Standard Model. On the one hand, it is one of the most precise theories in the history of science. Its predictions match experimental results with astonishing accuracy. Yet, on the other hand, the theory can seem like little more than a collection of rules adjusted to fit reality without truly explaining it. Now, take a look. Matter particles such as quarks and leptons do not come as a single type, but in 3 separate generations. Each particle also has heavier counterparts, with mass being the main difference between them. The electron, muon, and tau lepton are nearly identical particles, differing mainly in mass. The same is true for quarks. So why are there 3 generations? Why not 2 or 5? The Standard Model does not answer that question. Next, let's consider particle masses. They arise through interactions with the Higgs field. But the theory does not actually derive their specific values. Those values are simply chosen to match experimental observations. In other words, they are merely a set of numbers and their origin remains unknown. There is an even more fundamental problem. For example, why do these particular combinations of particles and interactions exist in the first place? Why do quarks carry fractional electric charges while electrons carry integer charges? Why is the universe structured this way? That naturally leads to an obvious question. If the properties of particles cannot be explained at the current level, perhaps they arise from an even deeper structure beneath them. What are prions? The idea behind prions is simple. It is based on the suggestion that quarks and leptons may not be elementary particles at all, but composite particles containing even smaller constituents called prions. The various particles we currently call elementary may not be fundamentally different from one another, but instead distinguished by differences in their internal structure. Their charge, mass, and other properties would then be determined by the combinations and arrangements of prions. For example, the fractional charges of quarks could be explained as being built from even more fundamental constituent charges. The differences between particle generations may arise because the same prions exist in different states or are bound together in different ways. Some models even suggest that force-carrying particles, such as gauge bosons, could also be composite particles made from the same prions. In that case, the entire zoo of elementary particles we observe might be nothing more than the result of combinations of a relatively small number of deeper, more fundamental particles. That is the central idea of the prion hypothesis. It attempts to dig one level deeper beneath the foundation and explain the properties of particles through their internal structure. When the parts are heavier than the whole. However, it turned out that digging deeper is not nearly so simple. A very serious problem emerges, and to understand it, we need to pause for a moment and think. Let's consider the proton. A proton is made of quarks, and those quarks are bound together by gluons, the carriers of the strong interaction. Meanwhile, inside an atomic nucleus, protons are not bound directly to one another by gluons, but by the residual strong interaction, also known as the residual nuclear force. This residual interaction can be described, roughly speaking, as the exchange of mesons. Confused already? Don't worry. The important point here is something else. The mass of a proton does not come mainly from the masses of the quarks themselves, but from the energy of their motion and interactions. In other words, mass is fundamentally energy trapped inside such a bound system. Keep that in mind. Up to the level of quarks, this way of thinking works well. But if we go one step further and assume that quarks themselves are made of preons, the situation becomes much more complicated. Preons would have to be confined within quarks, inside an even smaller region of space. But quantum mechanics imposes a strict limitation. The position and momentum of a particle cannot both be determined precisely at the same time. If we confine a particle within an extremely tiny volume, the uncertainty in its motion, in other words, its momentum uncertainty, becomes much larger. And as momentum increases, energy in the relativistic regime increases almost in proportion to it. In other words, the range of possible energies expands, and the characteristic energy scale grows with it. For quarks, this problem does not appear at observable scales. The effective mass of these light quarks is smaller than the mass of a proton, so no contradiction arises. But with preons, that is no longer the case. Keeping preons confined within such a tiny volume would require an enormous amount of energy. Calculations suggest that this energy, or its equivalent mass, remember that, should be thousands or even millions of times greater than the mass of the quark itself. This means that the force binding preons together would have to be so immense that its negative binding energy nearly cancels out all of their own mass. By ordinary logic, the situation borders on the absurd. The parts end up heavier than the whole. It would be like taking two 1 kilogram cubes and combining them into a pyramid weighing just 1,000th of a gram. To avoid this paradox, physicists were forced to introduce a hypothetical force even stronger than the strong nuclear force. That force would have to bind preons extraordinarily tightly, with negative binding energy almost completely canceling out their enormous mass, so that only a light quark remains in the end. But such fine-tuning seems extremely suspicious. In nature, fine-tuning accurate to 1 part in millions is rarely seen. And that raises yet another question. If a force stronger than the one binding quarks inside protons really exists, why has it never been observed in any experiment, either directly or indirectly? And what would carry such a force? Every confirmed interaction in the Standard Model has carrier particles, such as photons or gluons. If so, then similar carrier particles should exist in this case as well. Yet no such particles have ever been observed. We still can't see them. Even if we temporarily set aside the mass contradiction, the preon hypothesis faces another problem that is both simpler and even more fundamental. Why is it that we have never actually seen preons? The key point is that modern particle accelerators allow us to probe incredibly small scales. When particles collide at high energies, we can infer their internal structure from the way they scatter. And on this point, the conclusion is very clear. Quarks behave like point-like particles, and no internal structure has been detected in any experiment. If there really were even smaller constituents inside quarks, they should reveal themselves in some way. For example, they should appear as deviations from the predictions of the Standard Model, or as signatures characteristic of an internal structure during collisions. Yet nothing of the sort has been found so far. Of course, that does not mean preons do not exist. But it does mean something else. If preons do exist, then either they lie at a deeper level beyond the reach of our current experiments, or their effects are somehow hidden. In short, we are facing a difficult situation that plagues almost any theory of this kind. The deeper you place a proposed structure, the harder it becomes to test. A theory that cannot be tested experimentally begins to lose its value as physics. And taken as a whole, the very absence of observable signatures already serves as strong evidence against preon models. Still, let's assume that preons do exist and are buried at an extremely deep level. Is there any way to discover them? After all, even today's accelerators, including the Large Hadron Collider, may simply not be powerful enough. That brings to mind an even more powerful accelerator, the universe itself. There is a hypothesis that under extreme conditions, incredibly dense objects known as preon stars could form, objects even more compact than neutron stars. Researchers have proposed ways to search for preon stars through gravitational effects, such as the properties of gravitational waves and the bending of light. But so far, no conclusive evidence has been found. In other words, the preon hypothesis remains unsolved, but it is already heavily constrained by experimental data. Are we digging in the right direction? But preons are not the only possibility modern physics is exploring. That's because the problems we discussed earlier with the Standard Model may also be addressed through other approaches. Perhaps the issue is not whether quarks are made of even smaller particles. It is also possible that the very idea of dividing matter into ever smaller building blocks has already reached its limit. For example, in string theory, the fundamental objects are no longer point-like particles but tiny vibrating strings. In other words, within this framework, different particles are simply different vibrational modes of the same underlying entity. Other approaches have been proposed as well. At a deeper level, the very concept of a particle in the traditional sense may disappear altogether. In place of particles, we may find fields, symmetries, or even more abstract structures. In that case, things become even more interesting. The history of physics has followed the same path for a very long time. We have taken complex objects and broken them down into simpler components. And we have repeated that process again and again. Atom, nucleus, proton, quark. The preon hypothesis is simply the logical continuation of that sequence, one more step deeper. But there is no guarantee that this path continues forever. Perhaps we have now reached the limit, and quarks are already truly fundamental. And perhaps, even if a deeper level does exist, it may be completely different from the way we have traditionally imagined it. Instead of another smaller doll hidden inside this matryoshka, there may be something fundamentally different inside, such as strings, fields, or even more abstract structures. But nobody knows. For now, we'll have to wait and see. Humanity is capable of solving even the most complex mysteries of the universe, which means the most exciting discoveries may still lie ahead. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.